Hare Krishna. Question: should prostitution be legalized in India? The National Women's Commission has made a strong suggestion to the government to legalize prostitution. So, what is the Vedic perspective on this? Answer: the important thing is that women need to be protected from exploitation, and the specific way in which that can be done will vary. So, one undeniable, though unfortunate fact of life is that prostitution has been a part of human society for a long time. In fact, that's why prostitution is called as the oldest profession sometimes. Now, in the Vedic culture also, they were prostitutes, and the whole idea was that people who are excessively lusty, they shouldn't defile respectable women, and they should have some facility by which they can gratify their senses. And now the point here is that there is a social way of fostering proper behavior and discouraging improper behavior. So even in the traditional culture, although prostitution may have been there, the idea was that people who would go to such prostitution, this was disapproved in society in general, and people would if they at all they would do this sort of thing, they would not do it in a public way, but in a discreet way, and they would know that they are doing something undesirable, something wrong. And now the point is that in today's society, where we do not have a spiritual focus in most people's lives, and where the materialistic propaganda is extremely high and people are extremely self-centered, then the exploitation through prostitution can be abominable. So the government needs to create social systems by which women can be helped at various levels. First is that at the very base, at the very foundational level, strong legal and social measures need to be brought about to avoid human trafficking. So there are very horrible situations where children and women are often sold as practically like slaves, and this sort of human trafficking is a huge industry, and where the women practically children have practically no say in what happens. They are just sold and treated like property and forced into prostitution. So that sort of human trafficking definitely needs to be stopped by strong legal measures. That's one level where women are forced into such things by by the whole human trafficking industry. The other is the second level is that there are women who face some severe social, financial or other difficulties, and those circumstances put them into a situation where they may have to sell their bodies. This is unfortunate, and at one level the stigmatization of such women that happened in traditional cultures was meant to discourage such things from happening. But it is not just that the women can be blamed and the issue be ended at that. It is also the responsibility of society to protect and provide for women. So again, financial, in the Vedic culture, 5 categories of people were protected. It was the responsibility of all members of society to protect these, and one of them was women. So the circumstance, society also, the government and the society need to create systems by which women are not forced by financial or other circumstances to make this unfortunate choice. And third is that if somehow some women are forced into this choice and they are therein being exploited. So now when the whole prostitution industry is considered criminal, it is illegal, then it happens underhand, and when it happens underground, then actually there are no legal checks on it. So in a sense, just as alcohol drinking is not desirable, but still people are going to drink it anyway because of their addiction to alcohol. And then rather than prohibition, some sort of restricted legal license is given, so that there is some check on it. So similarly, in some social situations, the decriminalization or legalization of prostitution can actually work for the protection of the women who are being exploited by the pimps and other agents and other owners and agents in such industries. So now, whether that will practically happen or not, that will have to be seen based on specific social circumstances. Just as prohibition, just the banning of alcohol at some places can help, and other places it may not help. The important point is not to just mandate something as wrong in a legal way and impose it. Along with that, there also has to be a cultural and spiritual promotion by which people can redirect their search for happiness towards higher spiritual things. And then the prohibition or whatever restriction is there, it doesn't seem like a deprivation, rather it seems like a protection which saves people from wrong things and which enables them to go towards the right things. And fourthly, where there are women who are exploited and who have somehow got into the prostitution industry but want to get out of it, and the government also needs to provide government and society at large need to provide facilities by which they can come out of it, and they can again learn to live respectable lives. So how that reintegration in society can be done will vary according to time, place, circumstance. But the important principle is that the facility needs to be there, and people should not be stigmatized just because of what they have done in the past. Rather, they should be recognized for what they are doing at present. In the Chaitanya Charan, there is a story of a prostitute who came to tempt the great Saint Haridas Thakur. But when she was when she was purified by the association of Haridas Thakur, she herself became pure-hearted, gave up her undesirable profession, and then she started developing she became an advanced devotee, and the society respected her as a transformed human being, did not denigrate her. So overall, there has to be a social system for protecting women from exploitation and helping them to live respectably in various different ways. So if the legalization of prostitution cannot be seen as one isolated measure, if it is just made as one isolated measure, then in general the social disapproval and stigma that is associated with this is meant to minimize people indulging in such activities. But if it is indiscriminately, if it is just legalized, then the point may happen that the sinful activity, the undesirable activities that are being done, they themselves become accepted, and then the whole social value system gets warped. So that, which, as it is said, we should hate the sin, not the sinner. So that means that it has to be clear that such prostitution is an undesirable activity, and if legalizing it makes prostitution itself seem an acceptable or respectable activity, then that is a counterproductive effect. Whereas if legalization can protect those who are being exploited in the prostitution industry from that protection, then that can be a healthy measure. So the important thing is to ensure the protection and not just make one measure as the only means for protection, but to have a whole social revamping of the social infrastructure or the social structure by which the protection can be brought about. Thank you. Hare Krishna.